Brian Windhorst of ESPN has said that the offseason is going to be sped up and a lot of action is going to be happening around the draft. So we have a free agency rumor to discuss and a trade rumor to discuss around your Golden State Warriors on today's edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Before we talk about the Dubs being a team to monitor for Bobby Portis and the favorites according to some betting markets on a Lauri Markkanen trade, I got to make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel because we're bringing you nonstop Golden State Warriors content all offseason long. Whether it's a trade rumor, free agency, Jonathan Kuminga updates, some injuries, we'll cover it all here at Warriors Today. And I need 102 diehard Warriors fans to help us reach our next goal here as you see the live sub counter of 96,000 subs. We're on the road to 100K, but we got to take it step by step. Help us get to 96K. Hit that big red sub button for free Warriors content. All right, the Warriors signing Bobby Portis. This is a rumor that when I was scripting this video had just come across my timeline via Jake Fisher over at the Steinline as Bobby Portis is set to be a free agent pending his player option. Fisher said this: Team executives expect Portis to have numerous potential landing spots in the mid-level market as well, although Milwaukee would like to bring back the 30-year-old forward. Golden State has always been a team to monitor for Portis, who is just a notable fan in head coach Steve Kerr from their shared days during the 2023 FIBA World Cup competition with USA Basketball, which Portis was a part of. Now, like I just alluded to, Bobby Portis does have a $13.4 million player option for this offseason, and I expect him to decline it. He is a really talented player, but with Fisher saying that he's got some suitors around the mid-level market, well, then it's interesting, right? Because the mid-level exception for non-taxpayers in this league is a little bit over $14 million, so he'd only be losing out on potentially less than $1 million more, at least, on average salary for next season if he were to decline and enter the open market. But I expect him to do so with, a new deal that's multiple years. And with the way that the NBA looks right now, there's a good number of teams and some competitors like Golden State that can fit him on their books. And Brett Siegel of Clutch Points, and this kind of, ties back into Fisher saying that the Warriors have long been a suitor for Portis. Brett Siegel reported at the NBA trade deadline that the Warriors were monitoring Bobby Portis as the Bucks were making him and a couple other players around Giannis Antetokounmpo available via trade. So could the Warriors look to revisit this player this offseason as they have probably the ability to get a signing done, as with their available exceptions right now, they are able to have the full non-taxpayer mid-level exception of $14.1 million. They also have the biannual exception, and any of this stuff is not going to be really relevant to Bobby Portis, but to kind of just put it all in perspective, Golden State is in a pretty flexible spot this offseason when it comes to free agency, relative to the rest of the league with teams above the first and second aprons. And Bobby Portis is well worth that mid-level money, no doubt about it. He is the definition of consistency, and he's coming off a really solid season for the Bucks in, a season where there was a lot of injuries and uncertainty and chemistry, issues and stuff like that. The Bucks really were never able to reach their full potential with Damian Lillard on the roster, but Bobby Portis has continued to be, that consistent piece in Milwaukee for the past couple of seasons, man. He's an above-league average three-point shooter. Took a little bit of a regression this year, but I'm sure everybody on the entire Bucks roster, kind of fell short from, the offensive efficiency standpoint this season. But he's still putting up 14, 15 a night, and he's a good rebounder too. Like, he's going to be able to give you 20 and 10 on any given night. Is he going to do that for 82 games? No, but like for a Warriors team that needs more scoring, needs more rebounding, Bobby Portis is probably a name that you're going to want to be looking at and have at the top of their free agency priority list because Golden State needs more reliability. Like, if you saw those numbers for Bobby Portis over the last few seasons, they look pretty identical to what production you're going to get from him night in and night out. And this is a player who stays healthy as well. So all in all, like, reliable scorer. He can get to his spots. He has the mid-range fadeaway. He's got the corner threes. Like, he has a lot of qualities to his game that would mesh very well on Golden State's roster. So couple that in with the fact that he's an available player, and you're never really getting too streaky of performances from Bobby Portis. I think it's absolutely a name that Golden State should be targeting. But there are some other guys around that mid-level money that would make sense for Golden State as well, like a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was a name that I had in my perfect offseason video right after Golden State got bounced from the playoffs as a name that I would be super interested in as a 3-and-D guard, switchable wing defender. He can hit the three ball as well, and he absolutely balled out against Golden State in the postseason. Malik Beasley, not sure what his market is going to look like, but he is an excellent shooter. Not going to really give you much on the defensive end, but he was able to score in bunches for Detroit this past season. Like, he was near 20 points a game, kind of the quasi-second option offensively to Cade Cunningham in a lot of ways. So he would be awesome in Golden State as well as another movement shooter. Karis LeVert is more of that isolation guy. He can get downhill, has a little bit more of a in-between game than a Malik Beasley does, but not as efficient of a three-point shooter. I like LeVert, and I think he would do wonders coming off the bench for Golden State, as the bench for Golden State doesn't really have many reliable scoring options. Santi Aldama is another floor spacer and kind of a bigger wing, stretch forward that would be perfect in a Golden State scenario. He operates around the perimeter. He gets a little physical as well. I think would fit in as far as the defensive brand of this team goes as well. And then Chris Boucher, who is an above-average three-point shooter, is a good rim protector. He is 32 years old, and I'm not sure that he'll command the full $14 million in a mid-level exception deal, but he did average over 10 points a game this year, and I would not mind seeing him in Golden State at all. Could you get him for the biannual exception? That would be awesome. But as far as Bobby Portis goes, is that a name that you guys would want to see on the Dubs? Yes or no? Should the Warriors sign Bobby Portis or not in free agency for about the mid-level exception? I'm trying to hear from Dub Nation on what they think, whether or not this is a good move in this summer. There's also another name on the Milwaukee Bucks roster, well, not for long, that Golden State could be interested in free agency, and that's Brook Lopez. As Bobby Marks of ESPN, when he was doing the Warriors offseason primer, was talking about Brook Lopez as a name to keep an eye on in free agency. And this could be somebody who maybe doesn't command the full mid-level exception and maybe takes the biannual of $5.1 million a year to have a little bit of a hometown discount, as he did go to Stanford in his college days around the Bay Area. So this is definitely another name to watch. He's a good rim protector, spaces the floor, would give Golden State a starting 7-1 big man, but he is old, can't really move his feet defensively, and there are cons in Brook Lopez's game at this point. So it's absolutely a name to watch, but I would probably be more excited about a Bobby Portis signing if I'm a Warriors fan. Now, we'll get into the Lauri Markkanen trade rumors in just a moment, but first, make sure you guys get hooked up with this awesome deal. Steph Curry City jersey for 50% off. Look, when players leave organizations and stuff like that, you see the jerseys go on sale, go on clearance, but do you ever see a Curry jersey half off? Go get yours today at this link right here, chatsports.com/Curry City. They got pretty much like all the sizes available, so go get yours today with this link right here. It's in the comment section and description of today's video. Go get your Steph Curry City jersey right now. All right, here we go again. If you guys have been a fan or have been watching this channel for the better part of a full calendar year, since I basically started hosting videos, a lot of my first couple were about Lauri Markkanen last summer, the trade saga surrounding him, the Golden State Warriors, and Brandon Podziemski as well. We'll talk about it all, as the Warriors, per Bovada, are the presumptive favorites to trade for Lauri Markkanen if there is a deal to be had this offseason, as well as the Miami Heat closely behind at plus 250. Golden State sits at a plus 205 favorite, with the Orlando Magic, Dallas Mavericks, and San Antonio Spurs all trailing. But to be honest, is a Lauri Markkanen trade all that realistic at all? I'm not so sure, but Bill Simmons thinks there's a possibility. He said this: "I'm on high alert with Utah. Austin Ainge just took that job." He had a quote in a press conference where he was just like, "Yeah, we're not tanking anymore." And it's like, all right, well, and around the league, people seem to feel like Markkanen isn't not available. Bill Simmons, man, generational talent. How did he get from the Jazz new president of basketball ops, Austin Ainge, saying we're not tanking anymore, to Lauri Markkanen, their best player, is now on the block? Like that, they just gave him a massive $200 million extension. Like, it just doesn't seem to me that there are going to be any trade discussions about Lauri Markkanen this offseason. Look, the Jazz are going to be players. They're a team that can absorb some money back in some deals and are a team that can work as a vehicle for certain three-team trades as well. But is Lauri Markkanen really on the block? Like, I don't think so, man. After the failed trade last year between the Dubs and the Jazz, and who knows how actually deep those talks got, it seems like the Jazz kind of view Lauri as a centerpiece of their team, and he's not on a supermax extension or anything like that, so you can, down the line, pay a player more than what you're paying Lauri Markkanen at this point. And he makes $46.4 million next season. So that's going to be incredibly difficult for Golden State to kind of piece together a package that makes sense financially. Look, Lauri Markkanen is an awesome player, and I said time after time after time in the summer of 2024 that he would be arguably as good of a fit as any player could be in the entire NBA. on the floor for the Golden State Warriors. Like, if you're talking about a guard, Derek White. If you're talking about a forward or a big, it is Lauri Markkanen to AT. He can hit 35-footers, and yeah, he was not good this past season. The Jazz were the worst team in the NBA, so can you really blame him? Yeah, he's not a great rebounder or anything like that, but at the end of the day, like, what are you getting Lauri Markkanen for? Kind of to be a demigod and space the floor. Like, he could put the ball on the deck a little bit as well. Not the best defender, but definitely gets his body in there as well. He's a finished soldier, so I'm not afraid of the dog in Lauri Markkanen. I really wish he could be a Golden State Warrior, but I just don't think it's all that likely. And do you guys remember why Lauri Markkanen didn't become a Golden State Warrior? Well, because the Dubs would not send Brandon Podziemski back in any proposed trade. Like, they didn't even talk about it. Like, they withheld him completely, and that's where Utah wanted to start with Brandon Podziemski. And I think a lot of Warriors fans after this season can confidently say that that was a mistake. I like Pods, and he showed a lot of really solid things, especially down the stretch of the regular season, but it's just not even a debate who the better player is at this point. And it's clear that, the Warriors probably missed out on potentially raising their ceiling. But who knows? Could they have acquired Jimmy Butler if they ended up making a deal for Markkanen? Butterfly Effect says probably not, so you never know. I think the Warriors made out pretty nice by adding JB. And if they were to make a Lauri Markkanen trade, or if there were talks at all to materialize this time around, they would be Kuminga centered. And would the Jazz ask for Podziemski? You never know, but I don't even think Golden State would be willing to give him up at this point, because he was obviously better of a player now than he was after his rookie season. But if this was going to happen, like I said, with it being Kuminga centered, it would be a sign-and trade. Golden State would probably have to send more players away in the deal as well. And remember, they don't have a ton of big money contracts outside of the three massive ones on the books: Curry, Butler, and Draymond. So they're not obviously giving away any of those three guys in a Lauri Markkanen deal. So they're going to have to piece together something massive and give up a lot of depth. And Utah, on the other hand, is going to have to throw Jonathan Kuminga a massive bag in order to get this done. I'm talking something like close to $30 million annually, because with a Kuminga sign-and trade, Golden State only sends out 50% of whatever Kuminga's new deal is with the new team. So it makes things very, very difficult. And a one-for-one trade between Golden State and the Jazz is really all not that likely if Markkanen is even available at all, which I totally doubt. I think this is a nothing burger, man. It's middle of June. The Warriors, rumor mill is completely dry at this point, because everything hinges on Jonathan Kuminga and what he's going to do and what decision the Warriors are going to make on him in free agency. This Lauri stuff, to me, is just a nothing burger, and Bill Simmons just baiting Bovada into dropping some odds for Lauri's next team. The Jazz clearly have not made any reports about Lauri being available at this point. But just for fun, get in the comment section, comment a Lauri Markkanen trade package with the Dubs. I want to see how creative you guys can get, because look, it's going to have to be something massive. If you think, maybe you think they should trade Draymond for him, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Kind of similarly to the Bucks situation, with the Warriors maybe having two players on their radar over there, could John Collins of the Jazz be an option for Golden State, as he is a $26 million player option that he will probably be accepting at this point, but I'm not sure Utah wants to keep him on the books as an expiring deal. So could that be an option for Golden State? This is a 40% three-point shooter, a really good lob threat, like attacker of the rim, uber, elite athlete. So I think, he would be a good addition as well. But again, it would probably be a pretty complicated trade. It would likely involve Kuminga going back over to the Jazz. Look, trades are going to be hard this summer. He is the domino that needs to fall if Golden State wants to really improve their roster externally this offseason. Outside of the mid-level exception, the biannual exception, which, look, two players added to this Golden State roster is going to make a difference. Like, two impact guys is going to make a difference in free agency. Hopefully, one of that $5 million player is an impact guy. But if you don't trade Kuminga outside of those two moves and then bringing him back, that's going to be your team heading into next season. And could they look to trade Kuminga at next deadline? Yes, absolutely. As Warriors insiders, multiple of them have reported that. But I want the Warriors roster shakeup to happen in the offseason and not at the trade deadline scrambling for whatever's out there down the stretch of the regular season. I want consistency and continuity for 25-26 and the championship run they hopefully go on. But that will do it for today's edition of the Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, as we just need over 100 subs before our next milestone of 96,000. And lock us in for the best offseason content on Warriors YouTube. We'll see you guys on the next one. And as always, let's go Dubs.